Welcome back to the AI Demo Day, and a very good afternoon to our friends who have just joined us virtually, as well as those physically here at Bridge Plus 79 Robinson Road today. We had a very insightful sharing session this morning by our thought leaders and are raring for more this afternoon. To those who have just joined us, welcome to the AI Demo Day, co-organized by the Monetary Authority of Singapore, MAS, and Bridge Plus. We are honored to have your participation and look forward to an exciting day of thought leadership. We are amid some very unusual times, but are thankful nevertheless to be able to continue having this yearly event and for continuous sharing and learning with our community. We are thrilled to be able to host this event at Bridge Plus 79 Robinson Road, Singapore. Bridge Plus is CapitaLand's flexible workspace and community development platform, spanning across 7 cities in Asia, including Shanghai and Bangalore. We first launched in Singapore Science Park in October 2017 and have become host to enterprises like Rev by AXA, the FinLab by UOB, as well as CapitaLand tenants Shopee, Johnson & Johnson, and Dyson. 79 Robinson Road is the newest addition to our Bridge Plus family and will play host to a curated FinTech community. Our community vision is to develop 79 Robinson Road into a destination in the center of the CBD of Singapore, where international FinTech communities can gather regularly to confer and collaborate as a community. We do so through our community development initiatives and thoughtful event-driven programs to bring people together to make great things happen. We invite like-minded leaders and professionals who have an interest to contribute and give back to the community to co-locate and collaborate with us. Whether you are a leading enterprise setting up an innovation lab or a startup scaling for growth in the region in today's fast-paced environment, we provide the community to help you succeed. Those with us here today will have first dips before our official launch in January 2021. As such, do join us for a tour at the end of this session later. Now, doing AI for good is the main theme for this year's AI Summit. As such, we have invited various notable Singapore FinTech startups to share how AI can be used to shape a better future of financial services. But before we begin, we would like to invite Mr. Marcus Lim, Head of Flexible Workspace and Community Experience at CapitaLand, to share a few words. Marcus, please.
Right, thanks. Thank you, Minchi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and also our viewers who are watching in on a live stream. Good day to you. Right, Marcus, I'm the head of Flexible Workspace and Community Experience at CapitaLand Singapore Workspace. We're very honored to be collaborating with MAS to jointly deliver this AI Summit within this week's Singapore FinTech Festival. And thank you all for the audience on site for taking time to be with us in our new facility today. And in fact, you're the very first group of users to be seeing this new facility here. We've gotten it ready and designed specifically for FinTech Fest. Right. Okay. No, so I think as Minchi has shared, Bridge Plus is a community platform. We're also a flexible workspace solutions. So what we have upstairs, we have 2 floors of office space for our business community, whether it's at startups, small and medium enterprises, or large corporations. So shared services, facilities, and so forth. That's where we earn our living. And this second floor is where we make our passion deliver, right? It's about really activating the business community here. And our first center is set up in Singapore Science Park at Ascent. And within that center, we're playing host to communities from blockchain, fintech, innovation, sustainability. And for our new center, 79 Robinson Road, we're pledged, to really support the development of the fintech community here. So hope we'll get to see many of you here returning to this space next year. We are going to be working with many of our community partners, for instance, of course, including MAS and the newly set up Asian Institute of Digital Finance, the Singapore FinTech Association, and many of the entities that are involved in championing fintech development in Singapore to host, run programs and content to be delivered within this space. And this space effectively has been designed, for such a gathering. And, of course, now with safety measures considered. What's personally, I have a very strong interest in AI. And today it gives me great honor to be hosting the AI-related community here in this space. And so very much first batch of users here. I basically spent about 2.5 years going back to school, the National University of Singapore, about 3 years ago, doing my master's in business analytics. All right. So it's been too long being away from school, but I have really want to figure out what AI is about, what machine learning, deep learning is all about. So despite being a real estate professional, it is important for us to find out a little bit of understanding what goes on within the black box. And today gives us great pleasure to be hearing from many of the practitioners and specialists here. A lot for us to learn from, specifically in terms of application of AI in finance. So I hope you're enjoying the rest of the afternoon's program and hear from the startups over here, sharing many of the developments here we have. Right, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. We will now like to invite Ms. Farah Miller from Helix Technologies for the next session.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Farah Miller, the CEO and co-founder of Helix Technologies, a digital commodities ecosystem. And I'm glad to be representing our company in today's AI Summit at the Singapore FinTech Festival. Today, I will spend the next 10 minutes talking about these 4 points. First, I will run through the commodities market and trends. Then I will highlight the problems and solutions that we at HelixTap are addressing, and a little bit about us as a team, and lastly, the market size that we are addressing. The commodities market is ripe for disruption. According to TechCrunch in November 2020, B2B marketplaces will be the next billion-dollar startups. Commodities is a $20 trillion per annum industry and is no exception. Jim McKelvey, who is the co-founder of Square, now a large listed company, wrote this about startups, which is what we firmly believe at HelixTap. Entrepreneurs bring new people into the market rather than stealing customers from established businesses. Growing the pie is beneficial to everyone on the value chain and is at the heart of what we do. There are several key trends and forces driving change in the commodities industry. I'd like to highlight a few on this slide, namely the uncertainty in the market and a focus on ESG. These are all important tailwinds in driving change in a typically traditional industry. Asia's internet economy is huge and expected to experience a technology-driven boom. The commodities industry has yet to experience the same. An example of the tides changing is how ExxonMobil was replaced by Salesforce in the Dow Jones indices earlier this year. With the technological wave sweeping across all industries, the commodities market will experience this sooner rather than later. Various captains of industry are noticing the change, and this adds to the fact that we are indeed at a tipping point in how the future of the industry will play out. I'd like to highlight the middle quote as our initial target market is the rubber industry. So now I've brought you through the different trends shaping the B2C market and how this would impact the commodities market. Now, I'd like to walk you through what problems we have identified to solve, why it's important to solve it, and why we are best placed to do it. In my 10 years of experience in commodities and sales trading, I've noticed multiple inefficiencies. For example, when I completed a trade not too long ago, I had to wait for documents to be faxed over to me. I will outline some key problems that need to be addressed in the next slide. In football, good players play where the ball currently is. However, great football players play where the ball is going to be. This can be applied to the commodities market, where the companies who emerge as the winners need to understand the battlefield of the future and prepare themselves accordingly. Solving these problems is critical because if commodity firms use outdated technology, they lose their competitive advantage. They are not able to reduce their costs or remain relevant to their customers, and they're not able to, they're losing their market share to other firms who have adapted to the battlefield. Secondly, as agri-commodities are largely populated by micro, small, and mid-sized businesses who power the raw material industry and supply chain, and this includes everything from your batteries in your mobile phone, gloves, condoms, and everything you need in your daily life. Having no financing means they are unable to keep the lights on, especially in uncertain times. Thirdly, in this economic climate, investors like asset managers are starved for yield. And with the stock market where it currently is, commodities as an alternative asset class could provide the yield they are looking for. Our team has come up with a comprehensive solution to solve the structural problems identified in the previous slide, some of which via our partners. We provide a digital ecosystem for participants in the supply chain to be able to interact, market their products to a global audience, gather independent data, proprietary information, and access financing and yield. HelixTech Technologies' vision is a global, unified digital commodities ecosystem that lowers the barrier of entry for agri-commodities to join this technological wave, which has already impacted most other industries. We are able to capitalize on our in-depth market knowledge of commodities and technology in order to equip the industry to play where the ball is going to be. Our team comprises of commodity specialists in our beachhead market of rubber, as well as people who have experience in the oil and gas industry and M&A. In the last section, I will summarize the key points and outline the total addressable market. Since we are all travel-starved, in plain terms, pun fully intended, our unified ecosystem is the product, our partners in understanding of the nuances in the commodity market are the wings ensuring a smooth flight, and the jet engines are the underserved B2B market and trade financing gap. This, coupled with the tailwinds I mentioned at the start of my presentation, make it necessary for everyone in the industry to buy a ticket. As with any startup, there will be some turbulence and headwinds, but regardless of the plain model, no one can choose to ignore it. The destination or promised land has several attractions that are too large to ignore by way of addressable market size. Technology can no longer be ignored as customers demand more solutions. The agri-commodities industry must embrace digitization to address the new global environment. Our team has just completed a successful beta, and if you would like to inquire about the destination, flight ticket costs, or are just curious, please get in touch at our booth next door or email me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. We would now like to invite Mr. Ravi from Advanced AI Technologies for the next session. Mr. Ravi, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here. We haven't done this in over a year. It's so good to see so many people at one place. I've been seeing at least maximum about 4 people. It's actually super happy to be seeing so many people in one room, right? So I'm Ravi. I'm from Advanced AI. So let me try. I'm from Advanced AI. So I lead the partnerships and pre-sales for the organization. It's a Singapore-based FinTech company. We have been here for some time, about 5 years, right? So what I'm going to talk about is identity verification. Essentially, again, there has been a lot of buzz about this for the last 4 or 5 years, right? But what I'm here space, and I'm going to take a step back and talk about what identity verification is and what are the 3 key facets of identity verification itself, right? So when you're doing identity verification of people, you typically do in 3 facets, which is what I'm showing here. Number 1 is what you know. So what typically, when you are logging into any system, for example, Gmail, right? The first thing that they're going to ask you is username and password. Password is something that you know. They also ask you, what's your date of birth? That's also something that you know. So all the details that you know are what is being tested on the first type of questions. The second type of questions are something like what you are. This is what you inherently are, something like your biometrics, something like your face, something like your DNA, for example, is what you are. You're never going to lose them. I mean, there's chances that you might lose them, but predominantly, you will always have that with you. Then the final one is something like what you have, right? So typically like your mobile phone or a digital token that the companies give you or a laptop or a device that you have with you, right? So these are something that you have. And when regulators talk about 2-factor authentication, they're talking about using 2 out of these 3, and you cannot have within one space itself, right? So that typically forms part of identity verification, right? Now, again, I have seen, for example, one of the examples that I can think is when I want to do a transaction. In majority of the banks, the typical style would be I need to log in, I need to tell what's my password, what I know, then I need to give my OTP when I need to transfer some money from somebody else, right? There are a lot of problems around this because I'll give you one example. I am originally from India. So when I came out of India, I had a bank account in India. Right now, when I came out, I did bring my SIM card. I did try to maintain it. And about after 2, 3 years, I lost it. I lost the phone itself with the SIM card. And after that, I could not operate that account for almost for 3, 4 years because I could not get access to that particular SIM card. And again, this kind of problems are not edge cases, and they happen so regularly to so many people that I, as a genuine customer, don't have access to my own account and my own money, and I cannot operate for 2, 3 years. And to me, people have gotten used to it. I mean, as a user, I've gotten used to it. This is what is required. This is what I do. Now I have a second phone which just puts my India SIM card. Right? I'm used to it, and I have to put a lot of effort to get the financial services access that I need. Right? To me, the users have moved on to a lot better expectations. So, for example, if I'm using my Gmail, for example, I don't need to worry about what I have, whether I have my SIM card or not, but I still can access it anywhere and anytime. And that's what is the expectation of me from financial services as well. But there is a huge discrepancy or huge gap between what I expect versus what is available. Again, having said this, regulators do have a big say in how we operate here. So there is definitely some constraints, but there is definitely a huge gap. And that's where there has been a huge push in the last 4 or 5 years, for example, in the middle space, which is what you are. Because this is not something that I'm going to lose, right? My fingerprint is not going to change, or my, let's say, iris or my face is not going to change substantially over many years, right? And that's where a lot of direction has gone on. Again, I don't want to use Singapore as an example because Singapore is a little ahead with the rest of the industry, right? So now within what we are, right, there are many things that you can use. So I want to point out few technologies that are available. So for example, fingerprint, iris, OTP is what you have, then face, right? Out of this, there have been, so fingerprint has been there for a long time, right? So almost 40, 50 years of history or even longer history for fingerprint, right? And that technology has existed. Iris is again last 10 years, but it is not very ubiquitous. It's not used by many people because you need a specialized device just to scan your iris. And it takes about 30 seconds to get that particular identity of you, right? I can give you one example of fingerprint as well. Is some of the telcos in the region, for example, I worked in a telco world in my previous work. And in Bangladesh, they said 1 year that in 6 months, you need to get all your subscriber fingerprints, right? That's the regulator that said. And we went, procured fingerprint machines, distributed to our dealers who are going to take the fingerprint from the customers. And we made a mess in how we integrated, and we lost almost like 2 million subscribers, and just because we could not get our biometric verification, right? So fingerprint requires, again, I don't know if anybody is from India here. When Aadhaar came in, they said all telcos, all banks have to start having a fingerprint machine at the cashier or the clerk, right? Whenever you are accessing services, you need to swipe your fingerprint. And these machines never work, and you had to try almost 6, 7 times. That's because that device is not generally available, and they have to procure just for that purpose, right? That's one of the challenges of fingerprint as well. And so that's all these reasons kind of led into why facial verification and facial technology, and that along with another trend, which is the AI trend, where your computer vision technology or facial verification or facial based comparison kind of technologies have made a leaps and bounds jump. So for example, I'm showing here about 99.8% accuracy, right? This was 10 years ago before your ImageNet moment in Europe. It was almost 80, 82, 83% kind of thing, right? Now it's almost 98%. That's a huge jump that it made in the last 10 years. And that's why you are hearing about this technology a lot more, right? I'll give you one example of how it is used. This is how a lot of our customers use it, right? So the first, when the customer comes in, this is for onboarding or registration of the customer. the first time that he is coming into the system, right? So the first time he comes in, we ask him to upload his ID card. The second thing we do is something called liveness detection, the second product, which is basically you ask him to open his mouth or move his head, something like that, to identify the person that he's claiming to be is actually in front of the camera. That's the liveness detection, right? Then final product that we do is something called a face comparison product. What we are comparing is between the person that we see on the ID of the ID card that he submitted to the person that I see in front of the camera. That's the third product that kind of completes identification of the customer. This is the registration side of things. You can also think a lot of things like transaction verification. Let's say I log in, and you can now use this face to verify and go in. Again, I know DBS does fingerprint based. Again, fingerprint has its own restrictions. So you can have both. I mean, it doesn't really stop you from having multiple types of biometrics available for your system. Right? This is just an example. This is how a lot of our customers use our products as well. Right? This is how we have grown. And I mean, this is not just talk. I've seen the technology being used and how it grew in the last just 3 years. I'm showing from 2018 till now. Again, I'm showing all the APIs, but you can look at, the data is gone, but let's say the green or the orange. Green is the OCR product, the ID card OCR. The orange is the face recognition product, right? So just in a month, it is consumed almost 20 million times across my ecosystem. And you can see how it grew in the last 2 years. And you can understand why the buzz is there in the market. Again, having said this, I know it looks like the numbers are big, right? But I still feel this is only 1-2% of what we could address. It will grow almost 30-40 times from what it is right now. Right now, mainly fintechs or P2Ps are using this. Banks are getting into it. But in 2-3 years, you can see this number going almost 30-40 times. Right? Now, recently we had a huge milestone that we achieved. We hit about 4 million API calls per day. Right? Again, I'm running short of time, so I'm going to move faster forward. So what do you see? Again, what I'm talking about identity verification is only tip of an iceberg. There is a lot of technology of AI that's actually going behind what you actually see. Right? What you see in the front, like I'm doing liveness detection, I'm just doing face comparison, right? There's a lot of technology that is actually going behind what you see, right? So one of the examples of something called anti-spoofing. What this means is the AI is trying to figure out the person in front of the camera, is he a real person? Is he spoofing me? Some of the examples of spoofing is this. Somebody prints my photo, cuts the eyes and mouth out, puts in front of him, and tries to do all the challenges, right? So that's one example. Some other one could be recording of the person itself, right? So all these checks are happening behind that surface of the ocean that you can see. There's a lot of checks that are happening, even though on the top it only looks like 1 or 2 checks, right? There is another product called Face Search, which essentially is you can have a database of people. You can search a new coming face and search within your database. You can use this for deduplication, or you can use this for a blacklist database. Blacklist traditionally has been a numerical or a name-based database. Now you can do that for a face-based blacklist database, right? That's pretty much it from my side. How we can help you, you can visit us in the booth next door, or you can go to our website, or you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. We would now like to invite Mr. Liu Fengyuan for the next from Basis AI for the next sharing session. Mr. Liu, please.
Test. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. My name is Feng Yuan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Basis AI. And our mission is really to help enterprises scale responsible AI. A bit about the company. We co-founded this company about 2 years ago. I used to be the chief data scientist for the Singapore government, driving a bunch of our data science and machine learning expertise towards a kind of smart nation initiative. My co-founders, Linus and Sylvana, spent many years in the Valley at Twitter and Uber, scaling data science and machine learning teams. And when we decided to co-found this company, we were very moved and excited by the possibilities of scaling AI, doing it in a way that's responsible, in a way that is sustainable from the longer term. I usually like with a skeptical take on AI, but since we're all practitioners here, I'll skip over it. I think there's obviously a lot of hype and a lot of excitement over AI. We see it really as an evolution of more data-driven ways of harnessing information and data. And really for us, AI only becomes interesting when you're able to move beyond algorithms into something that works in the real world, when you can productionize software that's using machine learning in the background. So, we really see ourselves as partnering with enterprises and companies who want to move beyond, digitization, dashboards, advanced analytics into the world of productionizing their models. Productionizing their models of microservices based on kind of modern containerized technology. But once you've got these systems working in production, making thousands of queries a second, how are you going to make sure that they work as intended? You need to trust these complex algorithms to work well, both from an engineering point of view as well as an ethical point of view. And that's where, in our view, the responsible AI components of real-time intelligence become particularly important. So we see two bottlenecks in the industry today. I think one, it's great. We've all, the co-founders all have had experiences leading data science teams. And if you don't have the right engineering and infrastructure teams, they get bottlenecked. They can't productionize their models. And even when models are productionized, they're not continually maintained, updated, and improved, right? So you get the value of AI machine learning is that these models are supposed to keep learning, but the way they deploy it in practice is usually pretty static, right? So you train a wonderful model, deploy it, and when COVID hits, retraining the model may not be as straightforward as it was kind of promised on the box. So we see a lot of challenges around productionization, usually a lot of frictions between the data science team and your IT infrastructure teams. And this is usually why a lot of the quick wins with data science and AI tend to fail. The second thing is this issue around trust in AI and the problem of AI black boxes. And there are many reasons why AI can seem like a black box. But I think in our view, a lot of this is an engineering process that needs to be put in place, the right instrumentation, the right version control. There's also an important need to think about fairness and explainability as unit tests, right? Before you push anything in production, you used to have to do unit testing for software. Now you should do these checks for fairness and explainability as well. So again, this is the second bottleneck we see. And trust concerns not just from external parties. We're seeing not just the regulators or consumers worried about this, but even internal business owners and product managers saying, I'm not going to put this out if I don't understand how it works. And the motivation for this is quite common. I mean, this is a very old article about a situation where an American state was trying to use algorithms to predict whether or not criminals should be given parole or whether they would reoffend. And it took basically an investigative journalist to actually figure out that they were making errors on blacks at twice the rate that they were on white people. Now, this is something that if a third party could do as an audit, the question is not so much does the technology exist to assess for fairness, but more why isn't it being done on a systematic basis, right? And so our take on a lot of these ethical methods is that it needs to be built into a workflow, into a process, into what we call governance by design. And some of you would be familiar, right? It's now possible to, really identify, what segments of a picture are leading to the AI making a prediction that is a dog or a guitar, as the case may be. There are modern research techniques that allow this. But again, this shouldn't be something that's done as an afterthought. It should be baked into the process of how your data scientists and engineers are working. So in our view, every time you have a model in your organization, you should be able to pull up one of your customers and be able to explain why was Samira's loan rejected, right? Not just at the global level, but for her specifically, what were the factors that led to it? You should not only be able to explain that decision, but also to some extent give some recourse. So it's great to say, okay, you got a rejected because you had 5 credit cards, but if you were able to reduce the number of credit cards to 3, then you have a means of changing that decision or having recourse to that. Right? So again, a lot of trust in these black boxes is being able to understand how, as an individual, I can change my action to be a better to get a better outcome, right? So I think these are all aspects of trust in how we want to enable AI to work effectively. So what we've built at Basis AI is a platform which we call Bedrock, which we believe is the foundation for scaling responsible AI. We like to say that Bedrock helps with the deployment and the agility and innovation around AI that you'd expect from a Silicon Valley company, but the kind of governance that you'd expect from a Fortune 500 company. I truly believe that this idea of innovating quickly with machine learning and governance of machine learning shouldn't be in opposition. I talk to engineers out of Stanford and Silicon Valley, and they say governance is just a dirty word, right? For us, we believe it's a combination of both that are incredibly important. So when we talk about responsible AI and AI governance, it's not just about the ethical aspects of AI. We believe that the foundations of being able to put this in place are really about your engineering process. Are you monitoring the state of your applications? Are you monitoring the way your algorithms perform? Are you version controlling the code that's used to train the models, the data it was trained on, the hyperparameters in your neural networks, right? So it's important to have the right instrumentation in the training as well as the deployment process of machine learning systems. And once you have the ability to do that, then you also have the ability to log metrics around how explainable the models are, around the fairness characteristics of these models, right? So I like to transfer the concerns over the ethics of AI, which are typically about value judgments, into governance, which then becomes a process that becomes practical, right? So we see AI in the future, we see Bedrock as a means to allow technology teams that want to be responsible and to use AI to bridge that gap between whatever the PDPC comes up in terms of the AI model governance framework or whatever Veritas comes up with in terms of the fairness metrics, and then applying it onto your teams without slowing them down. So Bedrock sits on your cloud infrastructure, can be AWS, Azure, or GCP, but it's essentially a platform that allows you to train, deploy, and monitor your models and make sure that this is being done in a well-governed way, right? So we have, fine-grained permissions controls to organize your projects, give your data scientists as well as your business teams visibility into how well they're performing, not just during training, but once it's in production. So it's super important to have ongoing monitoring of your models. A lot of people don't do that, and that happens out of the box for Bedrock, right? Every model that's trained, we apply explainability metrics. So whether it's a logistic regression or a neural network, you're able to identify what the key explanators and the key features are in running that. A lot of the questions and desires and the requests we get from banks are also around model validation and auditability. So if you've got a model that's in production, what version of the model was deployed today? What version was deployed 3 months ago? What's the source code and the parameters that were used to do that? So when regulators come asking, you can roll back to the old model, pick up the explainability metrics and really do this in an easy way rather than trying to pull together all the emails that were used to enable this. Right, and I talked about fairness as a unit test. Right, before you push anything into deployment, make sure you have visibility into how it's treating men and women, right, people of color, before you push that into production. And if it deviates from the values and the thresholds that you've set from the top, you get alerts to let you know that you might want to rethink the way the model is built. I'll end off with just the last point about what Bedrock does, which is managing infrastructure. We use modern cloud-native technology. There are a lot of data science tools that say, you know what, we've got the UI, but you bring your own Kubernetes cluster, and we think that kind of avoids the hardest problem. So we manage the underlying infrastructure, but all your code and all the models sit on the customer's enterprise AWS or GCP account. So we're fully cloud native, but your data, your customer data, your models continue to sit on your environments so that you retain full control over that. So last point really, how we partner with companies is if you've already got data science teams, we hope Bedrock can be an accelerant and a good governance. But if you don't have a data science team or they're swamped, we can also provide data science teams where we would essentially build you these bespoke AI engines, well-governed with all the good stuff that I've just described, but you essentially get a managed service and a microservice that you can then hook up to the rest of your systems. I'll talk just about one use case for a bank where they already had a data science team. They were building models, and they essentially wanted a way to have a standardized process and a toolkit to audit these models for fairness and explainability. And that's essentially what we delivered to them. It's not just a paper framework, but it's basically a software toolkit out of Bedrock that they could use, and they would generate reports that they would take to their governance committee for review before these models were put into production. So thank you very much. My time is up. We have a booth outside, so feel free to reach out and happy to have further conversations. My email is there. Hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. We would now like to invite Nina from Data Robot for the next sharing session. Nina, please.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for your time today. My name is Nina. I'm a customer-facing data scientist at Data Robot. So for the next 10 minutes or so, please allow me to introduce Data Robot to you. Data Robot was firstly founded from frustration on completing numerous repetitive tasks when building machine learning models, while rather we should spend our focus on applying AI to solve real challenging problems. This was just 8 years ago, back in 2012, and we have a mission to bring AI to all kind of business. We're doing pretty well on that mission. We've actually created a new category called automated machine learning, or simply AutoML. And we see a lot of success in our customers' use case nowadays. Starting from the very beginning, we've invested heavily in widening our capability to cover the end-to-end machine learning life cycles, starting from data preparation to model development and all the way to model deployment. We've invested more than 1.6 million hours of R&D time to our platform, mainly contributed by over 600 data scientists and engineers around the world. And we have no intention of stopping that investment. So this platform allows you to deploy your AI wherever you see fits, no matter it is on your on-prem or in our SaaS environment or on your private virtual cloud. And our customer success is the key to us. So we actually provide strong support to ensure that's happening. So we have a team that is ensuring the platform is always up and running and also reliable and fast. And our data scientist team has been working hard to ensure that our platform remains relevant and solve the real world data science problems. And locally, we have dedicated account team. We have account managers, AI architect, and also myself, customer-facing data scientist. Data Robot is designed to all type of personas. So for example, data scientists and developers who mainly focus on creating machine learning models. And also, for example, IT team who mainly focus on ensuring that the model in production is running smoothly. And lastly, for example, the end users who simply want to consume the predictions coming out of their machine learning models. And we have the end-to-end automation capability, starting from the data preparation to model development and deployment, monitoring and management. And finally, you can also consume your AI predictions from the AI-based applications. And we can not only do the more traditional structured tabular data, but also the unstructured data. So for example, text, geospatial data, and also images. And lastly, I want to talk about the Data Robot community. So it is the collaborative online forum that we created to allow experienced data scientists and also anyone who is new to data science and want to learn more about data science to collaborate on this platform. So if you're interested, you can just now Google Data Robot University, Data Robot community to find out more content there. So we have Data Robot specific topics as well as generic data science knowledge there. I think actions speaks thousands words. So lastly, I've prepared a short demonstration video to show you the end-to-end capability that I've been talking about in my presentation. So hopefully you can enjoy this video.
Data Robot is the only trusted AI platform that automates and accelerates every step of your journey from data to value. In this demo, you will see the path from data preparation through model training to the delivery of new predictions using a property pricing use case. This is an example that completely transforms how house values are assessed, and you can apply the same concepts to your use cases to transform how you make predictions too. Our dataset contains features like year built, square footage, and so on. We also have geospatial coordinates and images of the exterior and interior of the property, as well as text descriptions input by the realtor. Data Robot can use all of this diverse content together to make predictions. Let's look at how we created this dataset. This is Data Robot Paxada. It's a visual and powerful tool to make complex data preparation fast, easy, and enjoyable. You can connect to any data source and quickly blend, enrich, and create new data assets ready for your machine learning projects. Then in Data Robot AutoML, just pick the target you want to predict, price in this example. When you hit start, Data Robot automates all the complex and time-consuming data science tasks for you, like creating cross-validation and holdout partitions, and looking for target leakage. It then starts building models in parallel, 10 at a time here, comparing and testing different approaches from a wide variety of open source and proprietary algorithms to find only the best models for your use case. Data Robot gives you human-friendly explanations using automated visual insights for all your models. Detailed blueprints, documentation, and automatic data quality reports show you all the modeling steps, algorithms, and neural networks used. You can evaluate model fit using the lift chart, and for regression problems like this, analyze the residuals by various dimensions, such as geographic location. Feature impact ranks each feature in terms of importance to the model, so you know exactly what is driving predictive signal. And row-by-row prediction explanations help you clearly justify your decisions. You deploy, monitor, and manage your models using MLOps. These can be Data Robot models or any other model you built externally. MLOps provides a single environment for all your production models. Monitor service health in real time, analyze accuracy trends, and understand feature drift to take corrective action before your model deteriorates. Enable the humility feature to inspire trust in your deployed models. This ensures humans are always in the loop of prediction time. You configure humility rules to take actions in real time if Data Robot makes an uncertain prediction, like sending an alert or overwriting the predicted value to a safer value. Challenger models compete with your production model to become the new champion. Both Data Robot or externally built models can be used. Replay prediction data against any challenger to see how it would have performed in production. If it shows better performance than the current champion, then swap it out with no production downtime, but only after it passes through a tightly governed approval process. MLOps gives you continuous learning for your AI, ensuring you will always have another model ready to meet constantly changing conditions, keeping accuracy right where it should be. But what about the ROI of your machine learning efforts? The use case value tracker helps you plan, monitor, and understand the realized value of your AI apps in production, prediction by prediction. After all, AI without business value is really just experimental AI. Data Robot empowers your team to become the next heroes of the intelligence revolution. So why not take the trial or request a demo today? Thanks for watching.
So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you find the video useful. If you have any questions, please visit our booth outside there. We can have a chat about how to apply Data Robot to your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. We would now like to invite Mr. Gabor and Timothy from Links and Analytics for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So Links Analytics, we build machine learning models. There are lots of different machine learning models. You have just seen a couple of examples, but there is one similar thing in them. They are hunting for patterns. They are hunting for patterns in large databases. And what kind of databases and what kind of models they are using, we can differentiate them. For example, if we've seen just earlier that if you search patterns in textual data, you might do some natural language processing. If you search patterns in images and in video streams, then you do computer vision. We at Links Analytics, we are analyzing a special type of databases called graph databases. And we are searching patterns, searching hidden patterns in networks, in connected humans or connected objects. And when we find those patterns, we try to support business decisions or any kind of decisions. Now, 20 years ago, with my co-founder friends, we were in a very lucky situation. Actually, maybe I take this off. We were in a very lucky situation. We were in a convenient, safe, peaceful environment of the universities and academia where we were working. And we had the chance to analyze the largest and most exciting network data, graph data on the world, social network data. And we were searching for patterns like what kind of network, what kind of patterns can explain that somebody in a network is going to be a key opinion leader or a follower, an influencer or a follower. Or we were searching for patterns if we can explain with the network parameters romantic relationship or different kinds of relationship between the members of the social network. But after 10 years, we decided to move to business to try to help companies in similar decisions. And yeah, social networks, instead of social networks, we started to analyze transactional networks. And there are two domains, two natural business domains which is very rich from transactional data and transactional network data. One is telecommunication, and the other one is finance, banking. So we started to understand these industries patterns and build machine learning models to have those business decisions. We have built 3 major products in the last 10 years. The first one, LinksGuide. This is a tool for data scientists. This is a tool for analysts and data miners who are going to use machine learning models to analyze large graph databases. This is an open source, fully open source tool. So if you're interested, you can just go download, upload your graph data, and you are going to be able to do the similar pattern recognitions what we have done earlier. Customer happiness index. If you don't have time for building all those kinds of machine learning models, but you are satisfied with something pre-built for you, focusing on churn or predictive net promoter score or customer lifetime value, then you can use these pre-built algorithms that we have developed for your industry. And finally, Xilinx, our spin-off, we are going to introduce a little bit in more details that tool and the capabilities of that tool. No products are meaningful without consultancy and help of the expert work and data scientists. So we are providing consultancy for our customers and clients. And of course, our team is also consists of business experts who are understanding the business questions related to the machine learning models. My name is Gabor Benedek. I'm the CIO founder of Links Analytics. And then let me give the word to Timothy, who is leading the Xilinx spin-off. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gabor. All right, so let me continue on to Xilinx, which, as Gabor mentioned, is the FinTech and RegTech spin-off of Links Analytics. So what we do over here is to really help companies connect the dots between their data sets. As mentioned, Links has a lot of consulting experiences within telcos and finance, but oftentimes we realize that for internal teams, it's going to be much more difficult for them to actually connect the data, do graph analytics, churn out the different models, maintain the different models, test them for performance, test them for fairness, and all these different issues that the previous speakers have mentioned. What if we can package them in a complete platform for a particular industry use case? So that's a goal with Xilinx and the RegTech industry. So why network analytics for this particular field? Because if you look at just purely tabular data, by themselves, they don't reveal much information. So for example, we work with a retail bank in Singapore, and you have information such as registration information, account transfers information, as well as payments information. But each of these, when looked individually, doesn't reveal much information. To unlock the value of these data, we have to connect them. And by connecting them, we are able to utilize what is known as network analytics to discover new insights and relationships. So for example, we are able to detect anomalous patterns from the banking data set by connecting account registration, account transfers, as well as payments information. So this allows us to amplify the value of the internal data set that the bank already has. So we see network analytics as the future of AML and as the future of regulatory technology. And the scale of problems related to financial crimes have been increasing, especially if a lot of activities have gone online. There's a figure over there, I think about $2 trillion on the global scale. And I think Singapore recently announced about 80 million for the first half of the year. All right, so this is a case study that came out of our finalists participation in the G20 Tech Sprint competition. Over here, we are looking at a public hack incident of the Arbit exchange, which is a cryptocurrency exchange. And it was supposedly linked to a North Korean hacking incident. We observed that this hacked money and the flow of money went through different intermediaries before reaching like the largest exchanges of Binance, BitMEX, OKEX, and Huobi over the course of the next 5 months. Because it's a decentralized system, it's very hard to track activities that are going on over there. We provide these automated capabilities of tracking real-time transaction screening and to help the exchanges at the end, for example, Binance, to detect these activities that have been going on. All right, so our tool in general provides a network analytics platform for monitoring anomalies, both within decentralized finance space as well as traditional finance space. And it's powered by the different graph algorithms that Gabon has mentioned, as well as combining it to form a business intelligence platform for the end users. And I think that's the really very important thing, because if it's just at the stage of artificial intelligence, there's going to be a lot of friction to actually convert it to business value. So by putting it in a form that is very accessible for the end users, we allow different teams to collaborate and generate new value from there. In general, our platform is operating on the latest trends of graph database technologies. It combines it with a highly visual user interface and allow different teams to collaborate on the data sets together. And basically, we see that instead of having every company or having every bank build their own graph visualization solution or their own graph business intelligence solutions, why don't we just do it once and for all and create a great one and allow it to deploy for any graph data set so that you don't have to spend 6 months to a year building up this solution, but you can just deploy it within 1 day, as long as you have the data set in place. So with our graph visualization solution, you can identify fraudulent patterns and activities, trace activities over time, do different filterings, run different algorithms. And the most important thing, allow different business teams to collaborate and view this information together. In addition, we have the necessary business intelligence tools as like a dashboard. They can generate different charts and different data as well. As mentioned, we create this transaction screening platform to allow screening of real-time transactions, which we see as emerging use case, especially in e-commerce transactions today. So that sort of sums up what Xilinx has to offer. In essence, if you are interested in connecting your different data points together, are wondering about the value of how network analytics could add to your internal data sets, or looking for a platform to scale and quickly deploy projects involving network visualizations, come speak to us after the break, which I think is happening now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We shall now take a short break, and our next broadcast will be at 4 p.m. That's for the virtual participants. For the participants who are here with us here today, may we take a quick picture before we go for our intermission? Okay, may I invite
course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here, and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also
If
official
anyone needs
networking.
the
I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up, getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the FinTech space and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant.
I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the again the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the fintech space, and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support, and the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people, and they can, look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too. Like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits, and these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the again the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the fintech space, and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the accessibility in terms of how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the fintech space, and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the again the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the FinTech space and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, we ended up getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the FinTech space and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum hackathon, We ended up, getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the
Hi everyone,
vibrant
may I
culture
invite you
and
to
the
slowly come back
state
into
of
the hall,
movement
please? Thank
that's
you.
always here.
The thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense that people here are kind of in it together. We're working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Now, Bridge actually plays an interesting part in our journey. So we've been here for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the FinTech space and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum Hackathon, we ended up, getting access to a whole bunch of startups that we were looking to invest in.
I think fundamentally because of Bridge Plus's efforts to attract niche and more technology-focused or innovation-focused companies, we do have quite a few blockchain-focused companies in Bridge Plus itself, which is pretty rare in other places.
I think what a company really needs is support. And the environment here is very flexible. So you can talk to the Bridge Plus people and they can look for spaces for you that is actually catered to the needs of your company at that time. And you can scale down, you can scale up, and that flexibility is really crucial, especially if you're a small business and you have got cost considerations. I think that the little added touches are really nice too, like the special community lunches, as well as the screenings, as well as coffee every day and the fruits. And these little touches actually really make a working environment feel very friendly and welcoming. And so I think, the team love coming to work, and that's what we really want the team to feel.
It's a vibrant. I think that's a good point. It's very comfy and homely, and I see a lot of passion in this space.
I like that Bridge Plus is pretty casual, but still classy. And I like that they're constantly improving and trying to innovate themselves with new initiatives, new projects. So I enjoy the vibrant culture and the state of movement that's always here.
Hi everyone.
the thing that actually got us to consider this space, number one, was the accessibility in terms of the how close we are to the MRT. That is very, very key. Secondly, of course, rental is not something that is like, whoa, this is way expensive. I can't afford it. And to me, and of course, the facilities are new. You walk in here and it's like, wow, this is really nice.
So Bridge Plus has been our home for almost 2 years now, and we really love it. There's a real community here, and we really get the sense
Hi
that
everyone.
people here are kind of
May I
in
invite
it
you to
together.
come back to the
We're
hall?
working here, but we know how to play, we know how to laugh.
Hi everyone,
Bridge,
we're almost done.
actually
Could we
plays
go
an
back to the
interesting
hall for the
part
next
in our
session?
journey. So we've
Thank
been here
you.
for like 4 months now. But what we can see is because of the community that is there, which has a lot of interesting companies here, a lot of startups, you can actually collaborate with them, network with them, understand what is happening.
There's also official networking events. So that has been great. I think my staff, my colleagues can network with colleagues in the other industries or in the FinTech space and build those relationships. In one particular event, I think the Ethereum Hackathon,
we help in early detection of risk in companies that we cover. How did this journey really start? So it's a story of a company called Sign-Off, which is one of the world's largest departmental stores, and combined, American banks lost more than $1 billion on their exposure to this company. And a US bank brought us in going, right, how do we make sure that this never happens again? How do we anticipate risk before the rest of the market knows it, so that we have very large exposures, we have a lot of capital at risk, a lot of balance sheet at risk, so we can take preventive measures and not have such huge impact on our balance sheet and on our P&L.
So what we did was we actually spent a lot of time studying their processes. And what we found was quite surprising. In fact, the in-house risk processes and managers were very competent and really high quality. There was one thing though, that worked really well once the risk was identified. And then the investment and risk personnel could use in-house capabilities and processes to mitigate risk quite successfully. The challenge was when it was unforeseen risk that was not being captured by the incumbent system. What does that really mean? If we were to take it to layman's terms, it means the stocks or the bond prices of this company have not been affected yet. Nobody has really started transacting the information on that risk in that company into the security prices. So what we do is we provide early warning of unforeseen risk. We help our clients detect the bad apples within their entire orchard, if you might, which would lead to a lot of rottenness in their overall capital allocation. How do we do this? Maybe let me move to the other side, right? How do we really do this? We look at scaled analysis of fundamentals of the companies that we focus on. Our AI-based methodologies pick out the exact events that matter that have already happened to the company. But because there are so many companies in the world and so few human analysts and investors and portfolio managers, not all of that information is yet priced into markets. We combine this with monitoring all transactions So today we cover more than 6,000 companies globally. That's actually larger than investment banks like UBS or Citibank's research coverage on the equity side of the house. So for a young company like us, less than 5 years, to be monitoring all of those companies globally, including a large set of companies in China, is not a mean feat. And finally, combining all of these pieces that we monitor on these companies, we know at any point of time where each company's fundamental truth is. Post that is where our invention comes in. We combine all of this knowledge into a final decision. And the final output is quite simple. We bucket the amount of risk present in this company into 3 categories of risk: -1, -2, and -3. And these represent different levels of playouts of risk within these individual firms. What matters now? What matters now is you really need to know what is in your portfolio. Pre-COVID, it was a story of one company that, within your portfolio of 40 or 60 companies that might have had a lot of risk you may not be aware of, and you're exposed to it. In a post-COVID environment, or it's not post, but in a COVID environment, you now have multiple companies going through enormous cash flow stress, inability to refinance their operations, and a lot of business fragilities that are not yet properly understood. We don't even know where we are going. As some examples, at the moment, we give a lot of early warning to our clients on companies like JCPenney, Into, Hertz, and as an anecdote, out of all the bankruptcies listed in the United States in 2020, we issued early warning signals on almost 75% of them. And our early warning tends to be 3 to 6 months in advance for these American bankruptcies. How could it work for you? So top line results for some of our clients. This is a sovereign wealth fund, very large investor globally. And this is a quote from their senior investment risk officer. So in September, which was a pretty dramatic month in the markets, we helped them save investment returns on the capital that they had deployed. These are some of the companies that were in their portfolio, which dropped massively, on which we had given them a lot of early warning. This helped them maintain their fiduciary duty to the pensioners whose assets they manage across all of their products and all of their investment teams. And it helped them preserve investment capital and preserve the wealth of the country that they represent. How can we help from a bottom line perspective? Everybody in this room right now knows most firms are going to face budget cuts in 2021. There's going to be headcount freeze. No one really is in an expansionary mode. At the same time, the amount of information is growing. The exposure to different companies is growing. In a search for yield, in a search for investment returns, people are going into countries and sectors that they're not familiar with. How do we help in an environment like this? What we enable is consumption of large-scale information with your existing staff. Even if you're unable to hire more headcount, today the model is, if I want to allocate capital to more companies, I need more staff, whether on the risk front, on the investment fund, on the capital allocation fund. When we come into play, we supercharge your existing staff and we increase their capacity to monitor more companies. Anecdotally, if an analyst in an asset manager was looking at 20 to 25 companies historically, in some of our clients, now they monitor 100 plus companies. That's the kind of productivity that we add to a lot of our client staff. This is a discovery over last 5 years. Often what happens, an algorithmic process or a machine intelligence-driven process, when it hits a human decision-making layer, there's very low adoption. And that's where most of the failure points happen. We have learned over the last 5 years to know that we need to nudge your people and processes. Like we mentioned right at the start of the conversation, your people and processes are very high quality. They just need to know at the right time, what should they be looking at? So we nudge your people and processes into action through workflows that they're very familiar with. It pops up in their email, it pops up through chat systems, or they just get regular inputs from existing workflows in-house. On the companies that you have allocated capital to. So it's not on some global universe, it matters exactly to what you care about. So we monitor every single company that you are exposed to, and that makes it very relevant to you whenever we say anything. We're the exact opposite of death by information. We don't say a lot, but when we do, it really matters. And finally, at the exact time when it matters. If you look at this company right now, it's a Japanese firm, Oriental Land Co. We've just put it on a critical level in, I think it's about August, and the stock price is rallying. That's a fantastic point for some of our clients to really do a deep dive, where they can then go inside and figure out what's really happening to this firm. Why is Blue Fire issuing a critical risk situation when I look at the stock price and the stock price is going through the roof? If you're ahead of the market, if you're ahead of the market where the stock's rallying like this and you understand the underlying fragilities and weakness in this firm, you can react a lot better than the rest of the market. And what we finally enable is that in 5 minutes, we kickstart your internal risk mitigation process. For this specific company example, if you look at how the net debt versus EBITDA is performing, while the industry is holding steady, this company has dropped off the face of the earth. That may not be reflected in equity prices at the moment, but until and unless they're going to do something in the future that structurally changes the quality of their earnings, they're going to be in deep trouble. And within this 5 minutes, we also point your people to what should be the next steps in their workflow. Now, at this point, just as a calibration point across the audience, sometimes we get these questions on what is really worrying our clients at the moment. People are very, very worried about China and their exposure to capital in China. As you probably caught in the news recently, we've had state-owned companies default, which was never anticipated by the broader institutional investment community, to the point that the debt defaults have been so worrying that even the equity market has started getting affected. And more importantly, the ratings agencies have been caught asleep at the wheel. A lot of the companies that have defaulted were AAAs or the highest investment grade. So this is something that's bothering our clients a fair amount. So finally, let us prove our value to yourselves. If there's a portfolio that you want us to take a look at, if you want to understand what your capital exposure looks like, we can provide a free unforeseen risk checkup for you as your capital allocation looks today. And to give a bit of context on our history, we operate with some of the largest financial firms in Japan, in the United Kingdom, and in the United States, as well as global financial firms spread across all the regions. And we operate across asset managers, asset owners, insurance companies, and investment banks where they have risk on their balance sheet or risk on their capital over medium to longer term. I'll stop here. Are we doing questions? No, okay. I'll stop here. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Samir. We would now like to invite Mr. Sean Leong from Handshakes for the next session. Sean, please.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Sean. I'm from this company called Handshakes. Okay, so very excited to be here today to present to everyone. It's been a long while since we had a face-to-face opportunity for such conferences. So it's fantastic that we got the opportunity today. So today I'll be sharing a bit about what we do here at Handshakes and how we have created positive impact in some of our clients and in the industry as well. To begin, I'll reintroduce again. My name is Sean. I lead the technology sales team here in Handshakes. If you can't remember my name, you can remember that I'm the long-haired salesman. Our company was founded in 2011 by these two handsome young men, Daryl and Charles. Both of them hail from SGX in the past. And if you wanted to get a company listed in Singapore, very likely you would have to go through them as part of the listing regulators, okay? And through their jobs, they came to realize that, hey, corporate transparency is a very, very difficult thing to do. Whenever somebody wants to come up to you that says, hey, I want to get listed, here's all my documents, here's what I have, they will just paint to you what they want you to see. What they don't want you to see, you got to probably dig it up yourself, do a Google search through past archives of documents. Not an easy job. They realized that this was a pain point. They came out, they started Handshakes. Today, Handshakes is a corporate intelligence tool and also a news monitoring tool that helps our clients do due diligence work, background checks, enforcement work, and also business lead generation. This is currently a bit about our team. We are 90 people strong today, spread across 7 countries. And yes, so quick bit to our solutions. I like to keep things really simple. Data and technology, these are the 2 things that we provide to our clients, okay? We have very, very privileged, I would say we're very privileged to have access to very special sources of data that help us a lot in delivering services to our clients. The first one being company registry data. So we've got access to data sets like ACRA, SSM, the same in Vietnam, in China, whereby every single company and all the people involved in those companies are there in these databases. And you can get information like, when they've registered their company, who are the directors, who are the shareholders, the financials, for example. For the second part, we've got corporate disclosures. So things like filings that you will make to the stock exchanges, financial reports, annual reports, AGM notes. These are all unstructured documents that we have also ingested and used what our specialist AI NLP technologies to extract information from. So we have also tapped into these kind of data sources. Last but not least, we've also tapped into news as a data source. We are quite privileged to have SPH, Nikkei, Financial Times as our investors. And so with that comes along access to 40 plus news sources in the whole of Asian region. So with this treasure trove of data, our mission then was to then say, hey, how can we get our clients to use that data properly? And therefore we built the technology to help them process, contextualize, understand, and operationalize what this data can bring for them. So our key AI contribution, today being an AI demo day, would be our machine learning and deep learning natural language processing technologies. This was very synergistic with the data types we had because, as you can see from the data, a lot of it dealt with unstructured data, large volumes of textual data that had to be processed, information extracted out, all right, contextualized and then structured so that you could use it downstream. And this is a very beautiful synergy because as with machine learning, and you probably heard from all the other presenters just now, that it is a necessary component to have lots of data in order to do continuous training, active training, in order to keep your system ever so up to date, to keep it effective in what you're doing, okay? So this is in a sense, one of our key unique value propositions. Now, apart from having the AI do all that extraction, classification, we then now need to do the last leg, which is how to consume the data. And to that front, we have built graphing tools, networking tools that would put every single data node out there and then just draw the lines and connect them. I'll show you a bit of a glance at the product later and explain more. Last but not least, as with lots of data, the fact that you possess this data also means you can do a lot of surveillance on this data. Whenever the data changes, whenever there are updates, whenever there's new things, or maybe you're just looking at a past history of data. These all fit into our second product, which is our surveillance products. So all these fit into our 2 off-the-shelf products, namely Handshakes, as well as Scout Asia. Now, Scout Asia is a Nikkei Financial Times product, but the technology behind is driven fully by Handshakes, okay? For Handshakes, you can see that's our graphing solution. Essentially, it is a solution that puts every single data point that I just talked to you about. So imagine every company, every person related to those companies, the financials, all plotted out in a huge map across Singapore. Pick any company, pick any person, go to our system in our booth out there, search them up, and you can immediately draw the map of how they're connected, who they're related to, what their background is like. If you're interested in any of the other companies, feel free to search them on our system too. All right? And that's the beauty of it, because this system allows clients to do due diligence work, investigative work. All right? Maybe to just delve a bit further. If you're a bank, you're doing onboarding, you want to automate data entry, you can get it from us. In your middle office, in your back office, you're doing due diligence checks. You want to check beneficial ownership. You can build these maps instantly instead of going to Google. If you want to do conflict of interest checks, for example, you can use our maps as well. Moving on to Scout Asia, apart from knowing what's now going on in handshakes, our surveillance systems allows you to then find out based on whatever targets you're looking at. Again, same company, the same types of people. You want to have a monitoring view on them. When something happens, new updates, maybe somebody buys additional shares in a company, maybe he appears in the news somewhere. Or maybe there's a company that you're invested in whose subsidiary, unfortunately, is caught in a flood in another part of the world. These are all use cases for alerts. And so that's the surveillance system that we built. Again, if you're interested to give it a spin, catch on our booth out there. All right, so I've already said a bit about the various use cases. This is a quick re-summary. Another one that I did not mention just now, we have also transformed various segments, one of which is the audit and procurement segment. What was once in the past possibly a sample check on post-event. So you've already done the procurement, you've already cleared everything, you've paid up the money, but on the audit side, you're checking on a case. What was once a sample check today has been transformed in certain industries to be a pre-event check, and not just random samples. You can check every single procurement case that goes on. Collusion, conflict of interest checks, do it up front. Why leave it to the end? Data works. You may have a lot of information that's trapped in your organizations as well. Maybe you've got archives of case profiles, you've got archives of officer documents, even project documents that may have been all done over decades of work, stored in some Excel sheet, stored in your KM archives in your organizations. Do you ever access them again? Do you have the means to look into the data and extract what's important, structure it and store it such that staff today can look back at what has been done in the past? That's where our AI comes in as well, because then we use our NLP technologies to do all this extraction, structure it for you, and you can then use it in your own software if you're using Tableau, ClickView, or you can use our own analysis software as well, okay? And to that end, government agencies and banks today use both our solutions to really process a lot of these back-end things automatically. Take, for example, if you're a government agency, you're processing grants. You know, before you issue a decision on an application, okay? Maybe he's applying for a certain scheme, okay? You want to know, for example, if you've said, okay, this scheme is only for local companies, or it must be in conjunction with a certain vendor. You want to know, is there anything interesting going about these applications or not? You want to know, you want to do some background checks on them. And all these can be automated with our systems. And it's not just talking the talk. We've appeared in the news before. So cases, and these are investigative cases, cases like the Singapore penny stock crash of 2013, cases like the Hong Kong penny stock crash, subsequently I think it's 17. These were all examples of how handshakes helped regulators, government agencies, banks to track down who are the people behind it, to uncover the layers of complex corporate structures. Okay. Of course, we've also looked into things like possible tender collusion cases. This on the other side. Last but not least, a quick bit of sharing on who we've been working with before. This list will look very pale in comparison to some of the other presentations you might see today. But unfortunately, we work in the corporate intelligence space, and therefore a lot of names we do not put up here. All right, but these are some of the people who we've worked with, solved major issues for them before. And we work with a lot of major partners, namely upstream data partners like ACRA, of course, the various registries that we work with. There's also our downstream partners and also our research partners, whom we conduct AI research with. All right. So if you're interested to know more, please come visit our booth. Me and my colleague from our AI team, more than happy to entertain any questions that you might have. If not, you can reach out to me on my email or through LinkedIn as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We would now like to invite Mr. Richard Burke from Value 3 for the next sharing session. Mr. Burke, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Richard Burke from Value 3, and we've built a platform for independent, predictive and automated credit ratings for capital markets. So the problem we aim to solve is that there's a lot of platforms, a lot of innovation. There's a lot of innovation currently in the transaction side of capital markets. So that's the stock exchanges, the trading systems. But why hasn't the amount of liquidity increased? Why aren't there more transactions happening? And the reason is that there's a problem with risk. There's not enough information for investors. And so we've aimed to solve that problem by rating and providing research reports for SMEs from $10 million up to Amazons of the world. And how we do that is through AI and through traditional quantitative finance models. So as we all know, there's more and more data these days, and so it's become harder and harder to distill out the important information for making investment decisions. So our platform combines both traditional financial statements and quantitative finance models with modern information. So that's local news, international news, social media, and it combines all of these into a report. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a lot of interest in this around the world. We've won a lot of awards in Europe, Asia, and also India are our main focus markets at the moment. The main players in the market at the moment, S&P, Moody's, Fitch, they have some serious problems with how they provide credit ratings. So one is that it's issuer pays. So only certain size corporates can afford to pay for this. So that limits 98% of the market. So only 2% of the market worldwide is covered with credit ratings. So that's limiting a lot of investment opportunity and also access to investment from these SMEs. It's also slow, subjective, and therefore biased. So the fact that it's not issuer pays, our subscription model, means that we can be unbiased and objective. Also, as I mentioned, the coverage, especially in Asia here, so most of the bonds on the SGX are not rated. I think 70% of the bonds in ASEAN are not rated. So there's a large market we can access. We provide two main products. So there's credit ratings and research reports, but there's also, with this data that we collect, we provide a lot of other ways to consume this data. So through either time series analysis for things like profitability, solvency, liquidity, through to benchmarking. So you can compare organizations in, for instance, Asia against their peers in their industry, their sector, but also across the world. So you might, for instance, be an investor in Europe and you want to access the Indonesian market, but you don't know anything about Indonesian companies. But if you can compare them either against their competitors in Asia or even worldwide benchmarking, then we can provide that information. We have the data. So we have quite significant coverage at the moment. We've got 30 industry sectors covered, more than 20 companies, and also 10 languages. So this obviously with the local news media, a lot of it's in non-English languages. So we translate that into English so you can actually view the whole news feed in one language. Okay, so how do we do this? So there's 4 main steps. The first one is collecting the data. So that's not a trivial step. Obviously, data from different sources, all in different formats. You need to standardize it. So you need to clean the data. There might be missing data. You need multiple sources for the same type of data. You need to cluster the data, and you need to, where's it up there? Classify the data. The next step is the models. So then that involves training the models, that involves running the models, that involves validating the models. Finally, you want to do some analysis on what that model outputs. So you have an analysis step. And then finally, how do you consume this? So as I say, the report itself takes a long time. For the big rating agencies, it can take months. And that's why you see problems where data adverse news comes out, you don't get a rating change for 3 or 4 months. And we don't have that problem, because we automate everything, and that includes the reporting step. So we can get a rating, if data changes on one end, we can get a new report out that day, intraday. So it's a huge advantage we have, is that there's no manual intervention in creating a report. So we use NLP to generate the actual text of the report. So here's some examples of how we present these reports. So you can subscribe, and we can give you access reports on both bonds and the issuers. And obviously you can search for these. You might not know, as I say, you're an investor. You don't know who you want to search to find who to invest in. Here's the actual report. So this is the research report that's generated. As you can see, it's a fairly short and succinct report. A report you get from Moody's or S&P might be 40 or 50 pages long. We condense that down into just the crucial information. Here's another product we have. So this is our smart search interface that lets you view the live stream of data coming in. So we collect thousands and thousands of news articles per day that come in. So as you can see here, we tag it with both sentiment and also various other contextual tags that let you filter. So you can filter this, as you can see here. If you want to filter by corporate actions, security breaches, you just click on one of these filters and bang, it'll give you all of it. You can search for specific companies, or you can search for general news across the industry or sector. We go back. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we have another way of viewing the financial information that we collect. So that's your standard accounting metrics for solvency, profitability, liquidity, and operating efficiency. As I mentioned earlier, you can also benchmark against not only peers in an industry, but you can benchmark across the world for similar sized SMEs, or filter them again by any axis. So this is fully customizable, this user interface. So you can adjust what's on any axis using any metric, any financial metric you'd like. We also have an alerting system. So this is a notification system that alert you for any immediate changes, both in adverse news or perhaps financial information, quarterly information. You might have thousands of SMEs that you're looking at, and you want to get information in real time on any news that might affect their risk. Okay, so as I said, our main advantage over the legacy players is the speed we can generate these rating reports and ratings. So our coverage is only limited by the amount of data we can get in, and a little bit of configuration work. So that's why it's taken us 2 years now to get to where we are, which is covering Europe, India, and ASEAN. But we should have coverage for the rest of the world within 2 years. And say if we scale, potentially even faster. There are current coverage markets. So there's more than 20 of them, and global coverage is targeted by 2022. So there's various, actually quite a few different uses for these ratings. So there's the buy side and sell side. We've been working with UOB Asset Management here in Singapore on the buy side, and also various insurance companies are quite interested at the moment in the sell side. Okay, so we've got clients in Singapore, Europe, and India, the second largest bank in India. As I said, we're working with UOB here right now, both their asset management as well as UOB. Okay, now, and our main client in Switzerland is the SIX Group, which are the holding company for the Swiss exchange, and they're also our lead investor. Okay, so again, our main advantages are we are unbiased. The data drives the report. There's no manual intervention. It's not issuer pays, so there's no incentive for us to give a good rating, unlike the legacy players. We have a strong team, both in terms of technical and credit expertise, but we also have close ties to several universities and run our own research consortium. Mainly for the IA side of, so the AI side of things. Sorry. So as I said, SIX Group are our main partner, lead investor, and also client in Europe. And we also have some former members of, was it director of GIC here in Singapore, and CTO of Rubber Bank in the UAE. Okay, so that's us. I'm Richard, and I'm last on today, so no more talking. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Oh, sorry, one more.
Thank you, Richard. We would now like to invite Mr. Emmanuel Ho from Emo Technologies for the next session. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. Hi, it looks like I have the pleasure of closing down this session after all. Good afternoon. My name is Manuel. I'm the founder of Emo Technologies. Can we see the next slides? Oh, that's me, sorry. Okay, so the title of my presentation is Boost Chatbot Performance. And the meaning of this picture is that just like a pole vaulter, what we do is we leverage on existing systems and processes in order to raise chatbot performance to new levels. Just a little bit of an introduction about Emo Technologies. We are what's called A-Star spin-off. This means that we leverage on the research and the technologies that A-Star produces. A-Star is the largest research and development agency over here in Singapore with over 3,000 PhDs. We also shareholder backed by Accelerate, which is the commercial arm of A-Star. In terms of what we do, it's actually quite simple. We fix chatbots. As you know, chatbots these days have a bit of a notorious reputation. I find it very hard to understand human intent, and for good reason, because you know, most of us, we find almost infinite ways of you know, saying the same thing. Now, that obviously leads to a lot of frustration. Lots of people think that, you know, chatbots are stupid. And I know a lot of the companies and leaders who have just simply given up on that. So I'm here to essentially say that don't give up. We can fix it. And you don't have to take my word for it. Our results speak for themselves. So this is a case study of an insurance company over here in Singapore we've been working with. They were running a mature chatbot for the last 3 years. And they always had problems with, it's called missed intents. Missed intents is when the chatbot says, sorry, I don't understand. Right? So they've tried many different ways of reducing that with no success. And from the moment that they started working with us, 2 weeks right after, their missed intents were down by 68%. And it was just not that. 6 weeks later, It was down by 82%. We literally crushed missed intents. More importantly, requests to chat to a live agent, they are down by 50%, which obviously is leading to major cost savings. But also more excitingly, product sales leads are much higher now. They're up by 5x, 400% higher. Right? This is essentially users who are looking to renew their insurance or asking for new quotations. And previously, the chatbot was just not able to recognize these intents. Now, the cherry on the top of the cake is that users are now saying thank you to the bot. They actually do that. They say thank you to the chatbot. To be honest, they used to say that before. It's just that now they're saying much more, right? Obviously, this we're incredibly proud about that. Now, the question is how we do that. Well, our approach is very much on the training side. So what we do is we help chatbots get better by training them faster and in a much more efficient way. Right? Chatbots and AI, as you know, they're a bit like athletes. Some are more talented than others, but their full potential can only be fulfilled if they train well and they train hard. Right? And the difference between a chatbot that is well trained versus a chatbot that is not is really huge. Really, the training is what makes or breaks a chatbot. Right? So we have a proprietary way of dealing with chatbot training. Let's give you an example. This is an example of utterance. So someone just keyed in how to purchase term insurance. And this is the answer the chatbot that used to give with this kind of utterances. Sorry if you're having problems while purchasing term life. If you've gotten an error or unable to proceed, do refresh your browser cache and try to redo. Okay, so obviously the bot made the connection that the user is asking for something about term life insurance, but it missed the point, right? Now, the problem of training chatbots when this happens is that there's no automated way of recognizing when the chatbot has gone rogue, when it's given a bad answer, right? The only way of doing that is by manually going through the chat log and doing annotations. Now, obviously that's incredibly painful and no one wants to do that. That's the problem that we solve. We're able to essentially automate the entire process of recognizing false positives. What we do is we look at the intent of the question, what is being answered, and we're able to measure the matching rate between question and answer. When it's low, in this case 27%, we're very, very confident that it's a false positive, which means that it's a wrong answer. And we don't stop here. What we're able to do is then find a better answer in the knowledge base and provide that to the chatbot. Right? And we know this is a much better answer because we're able to measure. We're able to measure the matching rate between question and answer. And if that matching rate is high, then we're very, very confident that is the right answer. So that is essentially chatbot training 101, except that with us, we can do it on like in steroids, because it's all automated, it's much faster, and it takes much less effort. And that's essentially our proposition. We are able to do that, and we do that with any mainstream NLP. For example, Dialogflow, Microsoft Lewis, AWS Lex, you name it. So again, you don't have to take my word for it. We can show results in 2 weeks. And what I would encourage anyone here in this room and in the audience is to engage us for a POC. And we can show how this whole thing works. All right. That's it. Thank you so much. And have a good day.
Thank you, Manuel. As this event is jointly organized by MES and Bridge Plus, I would also like to invite Mr. Daniel Jiang, Assistant Director at the AI Development Office of the MES and event producer of SFF AI Summit at Bridge Plus, to close off this event. Daniel, please.
Thank you. I'm Danielle. I joined MES 3 years ago. So before that, I was a FinTech startup founder. and I'm an investment advisor to Smartly.sg, which is a pioneering robo-advisor in Singapore. My interest is building models and solving problems using mathematics and algorithms. And I work whole my career as a quant. So even when I start my first role in MES, I worked as a data scientist in supervisory technology and applying machine learning and models to capture market manipulation in the trading activities. So I think 2020 is a really special year for me, not just because of the COVID-19. I think that's special for everyone, but also for me, I shift my role to do AI development. I say in my entire career and entire my life, I have never done event organizing and community building work. So this is my first time, and try to put up all the activities, put up all the speakers to establish SFF AI Summit at Bridge Plus. So with that, we have a lot of challenges, and I really, really want to express my sincere gratitude towards Bridge Plus, especially Jenna and your team. We really, really, facing a lot of difficulties, but eventually we made it happen for today's AI Demo Day. I also would like to thank all the startups participating in the pitch today, all the VIP guests here, joining us physically here at the 79 Robinson Road, as well as the audience online watching us. So without your support, it will never happen. It will never be possible. I hope you're enjoying the event today. I just want to share some thoughts like I have after going through all of these challenges and step out my comfort zone to putting all those events together this year. I just feel like building AI community is more important than building AI models. Why? Because sometimes the problem is cannot be just solved by technology. There are a lot of issues going on. When I hear from the industry, there are a lot of challenges. It's not technical difficulties. It's when people start working together, they have miscommunications, they don't understand each other, the domain expertise is not able to communicate with the technology specialists because they're coming from different domains. So there are a lot of challenges that are coming from all this. And the only solution to make sure everyone can work together smoothly and building up AI and start using AI for good is really through community work. So I would say this year I received a lot of support from my team, my colleagues, externally from industry to make all these community events happen. And we wish, regardless of COVID-19, we will do more in the next year, online, virtually, and we want to keep the community vibrant. So with that, I should close today's AI Demo Day, but don't forget tomorrow, we still have one day to go for the Singapore FinTech Festival. We are going to have a very exciting AI debate live here. So please stay online and join us. And I hope you're enjoying the sessions today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnell. I'm sure that everyone has had many takeaways from today's insights by major stakeholders in the industry. We would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone again for their participation, as well as our speakers for their invaluable time and sharing. For those who missed our morning tour, please join us for first dips to our new space at 79 Robinson Road at Bridge Plus. For those of you who are interested to experience Bridge Plus, may I invite you to join my colleagues Eugene and Janet at the front of the stage here for our scheduled tours. Otherwise, you may wish to visit the tours, the booths at the marketplace at the back of this hall. And that, once again, thank you very much for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you.